Hello, everybody.
Calling the matter of Samantha Shar versus James Hedin.
For the record, this matter is before the court on the defendant's motion to address or to establish an order of custody and parenting time. This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Present is, ma'am, are you Samantha Shar?
Share, yep.
Good morning. Also present this morning is Attorney Leslie Carr representing the defendant, Father James Hedin, I'm sorry. Hedin?
Yes, sir.
Hedin is, and Mr. Hedin is also present. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
The parties have conferred this morning with Ms. Patrick, who's provided the court with the following recommendation: that the parties shall share joint legal custody as well as joint physical custody of the one-year-old minor child with the primary physical residence with the plaintiff mother. The defendant father shall have parenting time every other weekend from Thursday until Sunday, as well as every other weekend from Thursday until Saturday at 10 a.m. The parties shall share holidays. If they cannot agree, then the fallback will be the friendly court holiday schedule. In addition to dad's parenting time, shall have 2 Zoom contacts per week. Mother will have Zoom contact when the minor is with the defendant father. Parties shall use app close to communicate regarding the minor child. That is a recommendation. Ms. Carr, is this recommendation agreeable with Mr. Hedin?
That recommendation is, there was one other issue that we did address with a friend of the court. That's regarding the tax exemption of the minor child. We were asking to alternate years, starting with the odd years for Mr. Hedin. Ms. Shire was not willing to do that, and so the friend of the court did not make a recommendation on that matter, but we are still requesting that moving forward.
Right. Otherwise, the parenting time schedule is acceptable.
Yes.
When will that start? This week?
Yes.
Yes.
So will this week be Thursday until Sunday or Thursday to Saturday?
Thursday
Thursday
through
till
Sunday.
Okay, just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Hopefully they can work through the Christmas holiday schedule. If they can't, the friendly court holiday schedule will apply. Ms. Shar, what's your objection to the two of you alternating claiming the minor child is dependent for tax purposes?
I honestly, last year when he filed for taxes, we barely had talked about who was claiming our son on their taxes, and he just kind of did it.
Well, it's best that the court address that in their order so there's no wondering who's got it. What's your objection to moving forward? Ms. Carr suggesting that you claim the child on even years, which should be 2024, and Mr. Dean would claim the child on odd years.
No, I feel like that I should be able to claim him every year for taxes. He's with me most of the time.
He lived with me for the first 8 months out this year.
He lived with both of us.
Underneath my residence.
And you, yeah.
Well, this is a parenting, but you agree with this parenting time schedule, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, 1 week he's got the child 3 nights overnight, another week he's got 2 nights overnight. It's a reasonable request. Ms. Patrick, do you have any recommendation in terms of parties alternating the tax exemption?
Yeah, the friend of the court usually will not do that because the parties were not married. And I don't know what the child support amount is going to be. So the court is correct. Dad's going to have 10 overnights a month, which is not quite half. It's close to half, but it is not. And mom did not agree to it. So when the parties are not married and the parties cannot agree to it, we usually do not make recommendations on tax exemptions.
Thank you. That makes sense. So what are we going to do about child support? Was there any discussion about child support?
Yes, Your Honor. There is also a PA order that is going to go through. Ms. Carr's motion was filed almost simultaneously with the PA's case, and so they kind of ran into each other. So in that case, the order was to recommend for the child support, and the parties have already received the paperwork under that order that came out of the PA's. So I did not mention it in this recommendation because I don't want two recs going at the same time.
Should we not try to address everything this morning? Or is it better just let it take its natural course?
Well, if we let the rec go, because they've already got the paperwork they're gonna fill out and turn it in, then they'll have 21 days to object to it. But I can also put it in this rec too. I'm just afraid they're gonna get double paperwork if I put it in this rec.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, Ms. Carly, at this point in time, the court's can reserve that issue if in fact
Okay.
there's and obviously the special prosecutor does not make a recommendation. They just simply make a recommendation on child support, correct? They're not going to make a recommendation on claiming child as a defendant for tax purposes.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, the court hates to see the two of you have an argument because we're close to the end of the 2024. So who had the child most in this 2024 calendar year?
I did, Your Honor.
We lived together, Your Honor, until August. And then
Okay.
from August on, I have had him for most of the time.
Who has greater income?
I do, Your Honor.
He does.
Well, Mr. Dean would benefit more by claiming the child than what perhaps the two should work out, maybe with his assistant, Ms. Carr, in terms of some arrangement where if dad could claim the child, dad would reimburse mom a certain amount of what he gained from claiming the child.
He was supposed to do that last year, Your Honor, and he did not. I was supposed to get a little something out of what he got from claiming our son on his taxes, and I didn't.
The reason that didn't happen is when she was laid off due to being pregnant. We went through a long period of time to where she wasn't having any income, as well as I was going through the UAW strike. So a lot of my
She was
work
carrying
would
your
be-
child, Mr. Dean. She was carrying your child.
Yes, I know that, Your Honor. I was trying to catch up on everything we were falling behind on. That is what I used the taxes towards.
Yep.
All right,
And when
so
I started
There
going
was a
back to
discussion
work,
and there was a talk of it. The only time an issue came up is when she filed her taxes and noticed a little bit that she received. At that point, that's when there was an issue about me filing for Henry. And everything I used was to keep us up and moving, to keep rent paid and keep electric on. You know, I know she was down and she wasn't working, and I was being hurt myself too around the time.
you
I was
spent
just trying to
a
make
lot
sure
of
that she
money
moved
on
forward.
things that didn't need to be spent on.
All right, so the court doesn't want the two of you to both claim the child because then you're going to create more problems. So the court's going to
Yep.
Grant plaintiff mother the right to claim the child's benefit for 2020, 24 only. Future years will be reserved. So
Okay.
at least you going into filing tax returns in January or late January. Let's not create more of a problem by both you claim the child. So this order, we're going to add this order that plaintiff mother is entitled to claim the minor child's benefit for tax purposes for the 2024 tax calendar year.
No problem.
Years, the two of you talk about it. And if we need to, the court will decide that in the future. There is some merit in alternating future years. But we'll reserve that to a later date. Of course, not going to rule on that, but only the 2024. So if you can add that provision, Ms. Patrick, to this recommendation, the court will adopt that. Anything
Yes,
further
Your
this
Honor.
morning, Mr. Carr?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further, Ms. Shar?
Nope, as long as I get to at least claim them on taxes. I
Well,
get,
for the 1 year, for the current
Yep.
year.
yep,
But work together. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. Be creative. A lot of times you want to get the best bang for the buck. So if dad claims child for yours, maybe put the extra money that he received, put in a bank account for the child.
well, that's what was my original plan, is if I would have claimed Henry, our son, last year, is I would have made a bank account for our son. And honestly, I got the idea of that from our friend that does the same thing with her child support money. She puts it all into the account for their daughter. And I would like to do the same thing for our son. That's why the taxes, I know they would go into an account. The account would
Okay.
not be touched.
I have also started
Okay,
a
maybe
life
hold on. Maybe if you did that
foundation
this year, that would show Mr. Dean that maybe you should do that in future years if you allow him to claim the exemption, because he'll probably get more of a return. So the court suggests be open-minded and discuss that in the future. In any
I
event,
already,
uh,
sorry. I
We
started.
ruled on
saving-
2024. The rest is reserved. Mr. Dean, you can talk with Ms. Carr how to address that in the future. Okay. That will conclude this matter. You can all zoom out. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Maybe we can keep it rolling here and go ahead and do Mr. Jonathan Lamont Hardy. He'd already agreed to the recommendation from the state. I just want to inform him of something very quickly when he comes out. Can you bring up Mr. Hardy?
My rule, I'll arraign them naked, just not spitting.
Mr. Hardy is a respectful, intelligent person who has his wits about him.
I just want to know that he has clothes on, that's all.
He does. The facts of the case may not jive with what I just said, but based on our conversation,
I once made an equal protection argument about a lady who was homeless, but was charged with indecent exposure, because here was the thing. Public indecency hits differently if your top is exposed.
you know, that is a good equal protection argument, Judge. I think.
Yeah, the judge didn't buy it, but he still let me off on my secondary argument. But I thought it was my best. I thought it was my best argument. Mr. Hardy, how are you, sir?
Can I just make Mr. Hardy aware of one thing before we?
Okay, go ahead.
So,
everything we talked about, she did agree to get rid of the fine for credit for time served. So it'll be 12 months probation, 40 hours community service, and do not return to the incident location. And I'm going to ask the judge to waive the probation fee. She's not going to accept a no low plea, so it'll have to be a guilty plea.
That's right.
Okay, you ready to go forward?
Yes.
Judge, we're ready to go forward.
Good
All
morning.
right. Good morning, Mr. Hardy. Raise your right hand for me, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
I definitely do.
All right, you can put your hand down. You're before the court on 2024 CR 09243 for Jonathan Lamont Hardy, public indecency. You're represented by Mr. Lynch with the law firm of Lister Holton Dennis. Mr. Lynch, what does your client plead to the offense before the court?
Judge, she'll enter a plea of guilty.
All right, by entering a plea of guilty, sir, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On or about November the 7th of 2024, Officer D. Rutledge was dispatched to 6817 Highway 85, Georgia, Riverdale, Georgia 30274, Clayton County, regarding a disturbance call. This is also known as the Wendy's restaurant. Upon his arrival, he made contact with the defendant, who verbally told Officer Rutledge that he defecated on the sidewalk in front of the store. Officer Rutledge spoke with the manager inside the store, and she said that she wanted the defendant to leave the property and to not return. Your Honor, those are the facts of the case. The state's recommendation is 12 months probation, 40 hours of community service, a fine of $300 to be suspended, and the defendant is to stay away and to not return to 6817 Highway 85, Riverdale, Georgia 30274, also known as the Wendy's restaurant.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes, Judge. I did explain that recommendation to Mr. Hardy. He does want to accept it. I did inquire as to his ability to report to probation and to comply with conditions of probation. And he believes that he can. He does know that he's going to have to report to this building for probation.
Okay, does he have stable housing?
I have a stable address, yes, ma'am. I'm not stable in housing, but I do have an address that's in Clayton County.
Okay. How are you gonna get back and forth, Mr. Hardy?
Marta.
Okay, do you have a source of income?
No, ma'am, not right now.
Okay, well, MARTA costs money, Mr. Hardy.
Yes, ma'am, my all-day pass is $9. I'm aware of that. I was in between jobs. I was working at CKS on Fulton Industrial. I'm gonna try to get back over there. Everything was going good. I just got sick, so I'm gonna try to go back over there. If not, it's through a temp service, which is top notch. I'm gonna reach out to them and try to get back employed.
What kind of work were you doing?
It's a bottle company, so we was boxing up bottles. It's like a mold, like your regular Pepsi bottle, bleach cleaner bottles.
I got you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what's the alternative, Mr. How long has he been in?
I think he's been in since November the 7th, Judge. Is that correct?
Yes,
Since the incident
that's
that he had? Yeah, that's accurate, Judge, November the 7th.
Is this a subsequent charge or is this not a first?
It's his first of this. I verified that with Ms. Hager. Yeah, he doesn't have a previous.
Okay. So, Mr. Hardy, I'm gonna give you credit for time served, 20 days, credit for time served,
Thank you, Your Honor.
balance suspended, as long as you do not go back to the Wendy's at 6817 Highway 85 Riverdale Road, Clayton County, Georgia. Now, Mr. Hardy, I don't want to see you again on one of these, okay?
Definitely not, Your Honor. Definitely not. I'm talking, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Hardy, go and get that job back, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right.
Be safe, be well, sleep sweet, and much love.